All right, the injuries for today. Guys who won't practice. T. Moore, knee. Garoppolo, foot. Ridgeway, pec. Womack, protocol. Deebo, ankle, knee. Kevin Givens, knee. The rest of these guys will all be limited. Christian McCaffrey, knee. Armstead, foot, ankle. Kerry Hyder, ankle. Ambry Thomas, ankle. Brock Purdy, oblique. Go ahead.
Define limited on a day where you don't do much on the field.
They'll be more limited than everybody else. I guess everyone can jog a little bit. They won't even do that.
You said Brock is limited with the oblique. Is the rib not?
Oh, sorry, oblique/rib.
What
You're on it.
Rib? Can you say what the rib element of that injury is?
Then they're just something that connects here. There's a number of them, and it's not right.
Do you feel that he's still on track to play Thursday night, Kyle? And then what kind of advice do you give quarterbacks going in to play Seattle the first time?
And we'll find out that as these 2 days go. We don't have much time, but we're not going to try to figure that out today or tomorrow. It'll probably be on Thursday where we have the best chance to know. Going into Seattle, like you tell anyone on the road, but Seattle, I think, I don't think I've ever been anywhere louder than there. And we know how their fans are. We know how that stadium is. You got to be ready for it. You can't expect to hear not just at the line of scrimmage, but also in the huddle a number of times. And it's a big difference playing there.
Can you get the acoustics going in Levi Stadium more so than the practice fields?
I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a good question. We'll find out.
Brock, is it a pain tolerance issue, or is there a potential that he could do something to make it worse if he plays?
No, it's just can he play with it? No, if he plays, he won't be able to make it worse.
How has he been as far as getting the play call in and getting it, out to the players in that process?
He's done a good job of it. I mean, the more he does it, the better he gets. We only had a couple off last week, which is pretty good. We don't make it very easy.
Facing a team that has such an obvious statistical target on their back in terms of the way that teams are running on them, how is that approached? I mean, each game has its own individual personality. You just prepare yourself for them to be better that night?
We always, regardless of who we play, we always have a goal to try to be 50-50. I thought Tampa Bay was one of the better run defenses we had seen on tape, and I think they were up there statistically too. And then you just never know how the game's going to be. How many, if you break some long ones, stuff like that, how many runs you get attempted. I know their numbers are struggling, but it's really never been that way when we played Seattle. They're a tough group to run the ball on. I know they haven't been this year statistically, but usually when you are struggling, and I know them meeting us here in 2 days, I know that's something they're going to try to take away, and it's something they've done a very good job of there in the past.
From a production standpoint, we can see what Christian brings to the offense. When you sit down and watch tape, how do you see him elevating the offense in terms of maybe what pops up and opening things for other people, things like that?
I think it limits a lot of stuff people want to do versus us. I mean, anytime you have a commitment to the running game and ways that you can think of how to stop that, but at any time, one of those runners can be out on a pass, not just against corners, but also linebackers and safeties, and some of the things you can do formationally. And when you have other guys in there, you can hand the ball off to too. I think it limits guys on what they want to get away with. You can always get the right run calls and stuff to stop some things, but if you have that called on the wrong thing, how bad of a position that could put somebody in coverage. And I think Christian does it a lot. I think a number of our players do, and kind of just have to simplify things for the defense when it's like that.
Is there a word was that Deebo will return at some point during the regular season? Is there a specific timeline for him as far as weeks?
There's 4 weeks left in the season. I think they told me 3-ish is our expectation, so right in that area.
The conversation that you had with Brock in the locker room after the game, is that normally a conversation you would have had on a Monday, but because everything was so condensed this week that you wanted to debrief him?
Yeah, a little bit, and guys got out of there fast. I think everyone was in a hurry because of the short week, and I went into my press conference, I think, a little late. I think I stopped by when I came back. I think that's when it was, and it just seemed empty, and he was sitting there by himself, and I wasn't going to see him yesterday with how the day went, not too much at least, so I wanted to talk to him about the week and how he did in the game, how he was feeling, and what was coming ahead.
You touched on Greenlaw's play in the conference call later today. Curious when you think back to when he was drafted as like a 5th round draft pick. Did you see things in him right away that indicated to you that he could be this kind of player, or did it just sort of happen that way?
He stuck out pretty early. I mean, he was a linebacker we liked a lot. I think we had a third-round grade on him, and we didn't think we could go for a linebacker that early. And similar to Kittle, we liked Kittle a lot too, but we couldn't go up there where we thought they were going to go. And I think Greenlaw, we got in the fifth, so he ended up falling a little bit less than we expected, and we felt very fortunate to get him there. We had just brought in Quan Alexander. That's why we didn't totally need a linebacker at the time, but we felt fortunate in the fifth round that he was available. So you could see right in camp that we got a much more talented linebacker than it seemed in the draft. And when he got on the field and base, he was making plays, and then when Quan went down, it gave him so much more reps, and he only got better when that happened.
Did you ever cross paths with Mike Leach?
I never did. I think I've met him before. I met him a long time ago in Indianapolis, just got introduced to him. But he's been so cool to watch over the years. When I was at Texas, we always went against him at Texas Tech, and he beat us a number of times. And I was always so jealous watching that offense, being a receiver, watching Wes Welker have like 25 targets at the end of the game. I definitely would have got that, though, even if I was there. But it was just so cool to watch it, all the people who have followed him, gone and done stuff, and I was real sad to hear that this morning.
Part of that offense sort of influenced the game over the.
I mean, I think it showed everybody that anything's possible. I mean, they used to look at that time it looked way different than what everyone else did. I also used to always think it was so cool just looking at his call sheet and it just being an index card, which basically is the same thing as just writing a few things on your hand. But the way he did it, the way he owned it, the way it worked everywhere he went, well, I think a lot of people tried to be like him and do things like him, but it didn't seem like everyone did as consistently as well.
With Deebo, we saw him very emotional the other day, obviously, when he was being carted off, and it's not something you to see from him a lot. Was there a fear when you saw that this was it for the season, and what is probably the obvious level of relief that it isn't?
I didn't see exactly how he got bent. I was too flustered and talking to the ref and, the situation, and then there were so many people around him. I didn't get a chance to see him crying like that. I saw when I got home the highlights on SportsCenter and stuff, and saw how scary it was and how worried he was, and was able to talk to him after that and really understand where he was in that moment. But I think a lot of guys are like that. I mean, and some guys handle it differently. I can imagine being in that situation, everyone watching you kind of just want to hide because whether you cry, whether you're mad, whatever it is, I feel like the emotions are always equal with all those guys, what they put into it. And when that stuff happens, you never know if you're done for the week, or the game, the year, or your career. And so lots of emotions go through that for those guys because it's not just our season, it's the livelihood of those players.
How ready are those guys other than Brandon to step up and for Juwan to become an every down receiver, and for the other guys to have increases in their roles too? I think the guys are more than ready. I mean, I think those guys love the opportunity. They're always wanting to be out there more. They're mad I'm not in 5 wides every play. So those guys relish this. I mean, I know they did a hell of a job versus the Rams. Even that week, we thought we were going to get Juwan. We ended up knocking him towards the end of the week, and a number of guys had to step up. So our guys will be ready on Thursday. We had to go do that last year, I believe, without Deebo versus Seattle. Be the same thing this week, and I know our guys are ready and excited for their ops. Andy Gray had his first reception the other day. How is it a normal process getting a rookie receiver ready to play? What's kind of distinguished his first year in the NFL for you? I think Danny has gotten the urgency that he's had. He has really been picking it up here in these last 6 weeks. The opportunity hasn't been there for him. He had a little bit more earlier in the year. Those opportunities have gone away, but his play has gotten a lot better. So we felt it's a matter of time where he can help us out there, and he's doing things the right way, and he's gotten in the game a hair more. BA's conditioning has been so well that's why he hasn't gotten as many reps and stuff, but he got there, and at the end of the game, caught a slant versus zero in some tough weather. He's been doing a good job in practice, and he's been waiting for this moment, and we'll see if he gets more ops.
Ray, I know Ray isn't the same size as Deebo, but can you use him in a similar way that you use Deebo?
Yeah, you can use them similarly. They're definitely different bodies. I think that's pretty obvious. But Ray, don't tell Ray that. He gets extremely offended. If you put Deebo on any run and you tell him that he can only do these but not that one, you're going to have to prepare or make time for an hour meeting with him later. Because because he's going to convince you otherwise. And that's why he's been such a good football player his whole career. You hear about how he was in high school and college and stuff. And Ray is a bulldog out there, and he doesn't think about his size.
Something out of you about Geno Smith, and was he a guy over the last 10 years that you looked at and thought, if he got a chance, maybe?
Well, I mean, I think everyone, when you come out of college and you're drafted that high, I don't think anyone disagreed with his throwing talent and the stuff he did in college. Quarterback, I mean, it's so hard to play in this league. Depending on the situation, depending on your experiences and X's and O's and what you've done, the talent around you. So you never really count anyone out, especially with ability. I've never known him personally, but I know that he's talented. I know he's had good games, and he's been given this opportunity this year. And the way he came out, everyone noticed right away, and he really hasn't wavered all year. And I'd like to say I'm happy for him, because I'm happy for anybody who does stuff like that. Wish he did another division or a different year, but hopefully he'll struggle Thursday.
With Purdy, part of what's made him so effective is his ability to be off schedule and do stuff after he's rushed. With a rookie quarterback, I assume that can make a coach nervous. Do you put parameters on him, or at this point, do you trust him to kind of make plays?
I mean, when there's not a play there or the rush comes, there's never in the history of at least me coaching where you put parameters on guys and say, don't react, just sit there and get killed, and we'll punt it. It's always a reaction. Sometimes it's to not take a sack and bounce pass it to someone, throw it out of bounds. Sometimes it's to break a tackle. Sometimes it's just to have an unbelievably accurate throw, but there's lots of different skill sets that the 32 guys got to choose from when things do break down. And Brock, since he's been here and on his college tape, one thing he does have a knack for is his foot quickness in the pocket, when and how to get out of there. Now, if guys are just doing that as their first read and they're looking for off-schedule plays as people are sitting in front of them open, waving their hands, that's when you start to talk about a guy, because it's really hard to be successful that way in this league. It's a matter of time. What's been cool about Brock is I think he's made those plays when he's had to. When there's been a rush in his face, when something's flashed, he's had to escape, and he's been able to extend some plays, keep them going, and it's led to some big plays for us so far. Thanks, guys.